Now, when it comes to putting together a basic presentation, it's always good to start with what I call a three-part presentation. A three-part presentation means you're only going to talk about three things in the whole presentation. Now, over to the left, we have the brain. And sometimes the brain can only hold so much information. Let's say that the brain has a buffer of 3. Because it can only hold 3 pieces of information, we then have to format our presentation, develop it, so it will hold those 3 key points. The first thing you can do is implement those 3 points as a sequence. For example, step number 1, you need to do this. Step number 2, you need to do this. Step number 3, and that is it. And this is a sequence. If you do 1, 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 3, and that is the complete sequence. So a presentation can be stratified and formatted this way. Another way to look at it, as opposed to a sequence, you can think of a circular function. In other words, step number 1 leads to step number 2, which then leads to step number 3 and brings you back to step number 1. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, back to 1. For example, you develop a new product, step number 1. You test it and assess it, step number 2. Step number 3, you make the necessary corrections or adjustment, and then you go back to step number 1, which is try the product again. A third way of actually representing a three-part presentation is to simply use a triangle. Here you can say, for example, step number 1, 2, and 3 are all key for your success. So again, three-part presentations are all about simple presentations where you have 3 key points you want to make. And you can use the first one here, which is a sequence. You can use a cycle format, or you can simply use a triangle format to drive home the point. By using these models, you further fortify the person's memory, retention of the information you've presented.